Well, howdy, folks. Time for another Western review. We're going to do another Elmore Leonard novel, actually. Gunsights. Gunsights, yeah. Elmore Leonard, if you're familiar with him, he wrote, he wrote Raylan Givens. If you've ever watched Justified, he wrote the Raylan Givens series. If you ever saw Jackie Brown by Quentin Tarantino, that was based off of an Elmore Leonard book. Elmore Leonard is really mostly well known for his witty dialogue and hard-boiled crime thrillers, which I have them all here. That's what he's most well known for now in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. But in the 60s, 70s, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, he cut his teeth as a Western writer, being every bit as proficient and well known for his Westerns as Louis L'Amour and some of those guys. Maybe you saw 3:10 to Yuma. That was a Elmore Leonard Western. There's a lot of movies made of, Western movies made of Elmore Leonard's books. What do I think of the cover? I forgot to review the cover of Bounty Hunters, I noticed. I think these are pretty good covers, I tried to search for the artist that did all the Elmore Leonard Western covers, because the same artist did them all, the same graphic designer clearly designed them all. And these are all modern day re-releases of the books. Probably don't match at all the 1950, 60, and 70 covers. These all came out in the early 2000s when I bought them. Don't know who that artist was, though. Anyway, sorry I forgot to review the cover of the Bounty Hunters in the Bounty Hunter review, but they're decent. I like the kind of the design of them, and the paintings, the illustrations are all pretty good. Even though we don't know who the illustrator is. A tear rolls down my face. I wish I knew. These books, these Western novels. The Bounty Hunters was the first Western novel he did, and if you saw my review of that, I told you that, Elmore Leonard's voice, he really hadn't found his voice quite yet in this book. The snappy dialogue and everything that he's so well known for. It was more melodramatic dialogue. Now, this one was published in the 50s. This one was published in 1979, and his voice shines through quite a bit more in Gunsights than it did in the Bounty Hunters. So now we're getting to more of the Raylan Givens, Justified, Jackie Brown, Pulp Fiction type dialogue that we come to expect from an Elmore Leonard novel, because this was written a good 20 years after the Bounty Hunters. What's it about? It's got his, these, Elmore Leonard does not write your typical Clint Eastwood, John Wayne type Westerns. One of the things that's different about Elmore Leonard Westerns as opposed to like Zane Grey or Louis L'Amour is these are hard-hitting R-rated stories from the get-go. Just like Pulp Fiction and just like the Tarantino movies. I mean, this is Tarantino's favorite writer. Tarantino pulls a lot of his stories from Elmore Leonard's, you can tell that everything that Tarantino does is steeped in the lore of Elmore Leonard, whether it's his crime thrillers like Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown are reminiscent of Elmore Leonard's crime thrillers. His westerns like Django Unchained and The Hateful Eight are reminiscent of Elmore Leonard. What's this book Gunsights about? Well, it's about two guys, the Gray and Lamont. I think it's Gray and Lamont. No, not Gray and Lamont. What are their names? Oh man, I wrote them down somewhere. Anyway, there's two gunfighting friends that were in a war together, and there's a few little flashback scenes where they're very reminiscent of Lonesome Dove's. The relationship between these two cowboys is very reminiscent of Lonesome Dove's Gus McCrae and Woodrow Call. And these guys are trained, they get involved in a land dispute, right? Okay, so they're good friends, but then they, in the Old West, there was always a land dispute. Hey, my cattle belong on that field. No, your cattle do not belong on that range. That's my range. No, it's an open range. No, all cattle can just be, nope, that's my land. And so there's a land dispute, right? Oh, their name is Moon and Early. Moon and Early. Gosh, it just came to me. So Cowboy Moon and Cowboy Early. They remind me of Gus McCrae and Woodrow Call. The characters are very good in this one. But they fall on opposite sides of the law over this land dispute, right? And then not only that, but they've got this newspaper reporter in the town that stokes the fire with his fake news. Yeah, there's fake news. Fake news. I don't know. I can't do Trump. That's fake news. Fake news. CNN. Fake news. So we've got these two cowboys and this newspaper that just writes nonsense to stoke the flame of this land dispute, right? And so some of the book is actual newspaper clipping, like the newspaper clippings of of what the newspaper's writing about these two guys, which just fuels the flame, right? Fake news. Yeah, even in the 1800s there was fake news. It ain't a new thing. Trump didn't invent that. That went back clear. That started back in Revolution. I'm sure the first newspaper ever written in Roman times. I'm sure that the first. I bet you the cave paintings in France that date back 12th. I bet that's fake news. Whatever that story was that was chiseled onto those rocks, someone was just fucking with someone else. Guaranteed. Fake news. Anyway, it's called the newspaper starts calling it the Rankum Mountain War. The land dispute, the Rankum Mountain War. And so it just devolves into these two friends not liking each other over the land disputes. If you've ever watched Wyoming with Kevin Costner, not Wyoming, Yellowstone. Yeah, Yellowstone. Kevin Costner. A lot of land dispute. A lot of open range land dispute. That's what this book is all about. It's good. I liked it a lot better than I liked The Bounty Hunters. And so I'm going to be rereading all the Elmore Leonard novels, all of his westerns and all of his mysteries. We're going to end up doing a review for each one on the channel. Right now, so far, we've just got this one and this one. I'll give this one about a 7.5 out of 10. It was better than that. And then we are going to start reading some of these other Elmore Leonards that are just literary perfection.